But yeah, you have these batteries, which are Panasonic cells, of course. Why else? Or why anybody else? I can't do this. Here, let me see if I can do this with one hand. It is very hard to do this with one hand. I about give up on making this video if I keep having to listen to all these trucks. It's already pushing out hot air, so... Holy can I just not catch a break today? Good day, folks. Jordan here. Today with a pretty cool little laptop convertible hybrid device thingamajig that I found on eBay. This is a Panasonic Toughbook CF-C1, probably from 2011 or 2012. It is based on a Sandy Bridge Intel Core i5 CPU with the HD 3000 graphics. And this machine is just really neat to look at, so let's dive in. So before we take a look at the inside of this machine, I figured I'd show off the ports and what makes this machine really interesting. First off is this rubber handle or carry strap thing that is actually held in with screws. Yeah, that's really interesting. And also, I'm not sure what this is for, except for the only thing I can think of is, well, it's held in with one screw for one thing, but I was almost wondering if that might be just some kind of placeholder thing for your hand, so that way when you're actually holding the laptop with this strap, it'll actually conform to your hand a little better and doesn't give you like cramps like a flat laptop bottom would. At least I think that's what that's supposed to be for. And yes, there is a silo for the stylus. Mine does not have it, but most of these that you see on eBay do not, which is fine by me because the touchscreen on this, yes, it does have a touchscreen, is capacitive touch, and you can use it with your finger, which is really nice. So we have our power input there with center positive, which is really nice that they point that out. However, it's an odd 16 volt with a high current output, so if you're ever looking for the power supplies for these, make sure it's a 16 volt that's a 4.5 amp, otherwise you will have the wrong power supply. Most Panasonic Toughbooks, including the big military grade ones, not like this one, will have that very same power supply or something similar to it. And they usually have an oversized jack on the end, so pay attention when you're looking these things up to see if it has the right charger. This has a dial-up modem, possibly one of the last newer machines to have a modem, and yes, this is a real 56K V92 standard modem. It does have gigabit LAN. There is the puny little vent. There's my finger for scale, and this thing has quite the heat output. It's got quite the little fan. It gets up to speed very quickly, not gonna lie. It gets pretty toasty too. Then again, Sandy Bridge does not run cool at all. There's two USB 2.0 ports, and as far as I know, on this machine in general, there is no USB 3 hardware, which is, it's fine. It's what you would expect for a machine of this time. It doesn't try to branch out or do anything special. On the front is the power switch. There's the wireless switch. Now this controls, I believe, wireless and the cellular modem, which yes, this does have a cellular modem. It does have a SIM card slot right there, which you can move. And yes, this does have a SIM card in it, which is pretty funny. I don't know why the eBay seller left the SIM card in it because it makes absolutely no sense, but there you can see the deactivated Verizon 4G LTE SIM that this computer has. I do not have the drivers for the cellular modem installed, and I don't think I ever will because I don't see a point for it, but you know, it's still there nonetheless. There's a headphone jack, a microphone jack, a little cutout to open the screen. It has an SDXC card reader, and there's a bunch of indicator LEDs for mainly the two battery charge statuses, Eco Mode, which I think is a special software utility, not sure. I think that's like power light status, I think that's the power light. Num lock, caps lock, and scroll lock lights are there. SD card slot reading, and a hard drive light, which they're all very useful. This is why I don't record when it's in between 11 o'clock, because that's when school has lunch, and all the students drive these ridiculously noisy cars and trucks, and it just ticks everybody off, including myself, if you haven't noticed. Now, if this machine was equipped with a smart card slot, this would have it right up above, but this does not, so the only thing that you can see is this express card slot there. There's the silo for the stylus, if this were to have it, another USB port, and VGA, and the single lonely speaker on this computer for the sound. What a wimpy little thing. And yes, this is pathetic. It really sounds horrible, but most of the time you wouldn't have the audio on these things turned on, so that's probably why. It's just there for just saying you have a speaker. So forgive me if I don't do this right the first time. I'm not great with this with one hand, but I can try to make it work. This machine has 2 batteries, which is pretty neat. And this one, for some reason, when you slide it, it starts blinking this orange LED at you. I'm not sure why, but either way, I guess that's just some kind of feature or whatever. I don't really know. But yes, this does have 2 batteries in it. So as you can see, this is a Panasonic lithium-ion. Of course, who else would make batteries for Panasonic Toughbooks other than Panasonic themselves? So this is a 6,000 milliamp hour typical capacity battery. Some kind of sorty lithium-ion output something or another. And yes, this does, I believe, need both batteries in order to function because they are such low voltage. So 7.4 times 2 would give you, I believe, 14.8 volts or something like that. So that's why you need both of these batteries in tandem in order to function. So yeah, or I'm not sure. It could very well just run on one battery. I haven't tried it. I don't dare to try it because I don't know what the results are going to be, and apparently battery number 2 does not want to go in there without being difficult, of course. Difficult. Alright, I'll be right back once I get this back in the laptop. And interestingly, the hard drive slot on this machine is on the back, so it is held in with a screw, of course. There is the little release lever for that. I have inserted a solid-state drive in this computer. I figured that's just the most appropriate for a tablet. I could have put in a mechanical hard drive like most of these would have shipped with when they were new, but I figured a solid-state drive was the best bet. So let's see if I can get this open with one hand. It's kind of hard to do it because the hinges are kind of stiff, but I think I should be able to do it. Yeah, kind of. There we go. So as you can see, it has an unusual circular touchpad, which is still functional as a touchpad, and it's got these really soft touch buttons on it. Of course, this is all painted silver, but what's neat about this touchpad, and under Windows 7 it would normally work. I have Windows 10 on this at the moment, which doesn't really make this work any better, but the touchpad would scroll in a circular motion. It's really cool. I thought that that was pretty clever on top of Panasonic to... Can I not record today? Anyway, aside from all the vehicle bloopers, the keyboard on this is pretty tiny, I suppose, for most people, but it's actually not that bad to type on. The keys themselves are surprisingly tactile. There's not a lot of key travel, and there's really not that solid of a backplate since this machine is mostly comprised of plastic. This is not the military-grade style Toughbooks after all, of course, but it still is a pretty nice keyboard to type on. I'm not sure if this has any kind of spill-proof features, like the Lenovo ThinkPads of its day. I do see there's a hole there, but I don't think that's for the spill-proof thing. I think that's just for keeping it stable inside of a docking connector or something. I think that's what that hole is there for. But I don't know, I could be wrong, of course. So excuse my horrible sitting position here while I film this video, but this is the display. It is a 12.1-inch 1280 by 800 capacitive touch screen, and I believe there's a special digitizer sensor in there. Display, yay. It is not an IPS LCD. This is just a really cheap and really low quality touchscreen from the looks of it, but it has touchscreen capability. It also has a set of buttons on the front for display brightness, an on-screen keyboard, rotation of the display, some kind of button for passwords, I guess. I'm not sure. And then a user programmable button. And if this machine were to be equipped with one, the fingerprint scanner would go right there, but this does not have the fingerprint scanner. It also has one of the tiniest webcams I've ever seen. In fact, it's so small that the freaking phone won't even focus into it. But yes, that is a webcam. Probably one of the worst webcams you'll ever see in your lifetime, but it does exist. And this is the lock for the special tablet hinge. So what you do is you unlock it here. I'm going to get autofocus back on my phone to let me do this, maybe. Okay, so for some reason the zoom in and zoom out trick wasn't working to re-enable the autofocus. I don't know why. Anyway, so the way this works is you start by unlatching the screen from the 2 little holders, which are extremely stiff, spring-loaded little, I guess, balls inside of the hinge, which is this long, stiff piece. And then you can rotate this around, clip it back in, and then you can slot it down, and relock it. And now, as you can see, you pretty much have a rough estimation of a tablet. It's not like the more modern Windows 2-in-1 convertibles in how it works, but obviously this is a very early concept for the 2-in-1 computer, as they called it, or Microsoft branded it as. So it is functional in nature, but obviously the X360 hinges, or whatever other types of brand names they put to these 360 rotational degree hinges on touchscreen laptops, well, yeah, this was definitely not one of those. But it does work, and I'm going to go ahead and unlock it here. Let me see if I can do this with one hand. It is very hard to do this with one hand. I about give up on making this video if I keep having to listen to all these trucks. Okay, so assuming I'm not an idiot and I did not forget to charge the batteries, let's turn this on. Aha, it does come on. So yeah, the display is definitely not great, but I didn't expect it to be for an early touchscreen laptop like this is. And as you can see, it starts up very quickly. Very quickly. I mean, this is a solid-state drive after all, on a SATA 3 bus for one thing, but it just starts up very fast. And, you know, given Windows 10 and its optimization, and for some reason I have to swipe up. I hate Windows 10 making me do this. It's really annoying. And it has some bizarre lag spots like that. I'm not sure why. And the cooling fan is already hot. It's already pushing out hot air, so... Holy f***, can I just not catch a break today? So yep, here we are in Windows 10, and this obviously works as a touchscreen, so I can touch down here on the start button, which I didn't really do really that well. You have to use your finger in order to touch the screen. You cannot prod it with your fingernail or something like the more modern touchscreens will let you do. You actually have to press using your finger, so it's not quite a full, true capacitive touchscreen display, since again, this was more or less designed to use a stylus with a special layer on the display, hence why it probably doesn't have as good of contrast as it could have had, or the even backlighting it could have had. But yeah, this thing is seriously pushing out some hot air, and I believe this is properly functional. This is not overheating. It's meant to do this. I think it's just Windows 10 causing this, because I think I left it in some kind of high performance mode like an idiot. So yeah, as you can see, it's running off one battery right now, and I believe the other one kicks in either when the machine is under full load or when that one decides it wants to drain in capacity. Not entirely sure which way this works, but it is what it is. It does tend to get pretty decent battery life, I'd say, for what this thing is and probably how old the batteries are. This probably has its original batteries in it, and it still gets some pretty decent battery life, even despite all this thing's quirks and the really loud fan. I mean, it's quite loud. But otherwise, this is Intel HD 3000 graphics. It's by no means any kind of a fancy machine. It's just meant to be functional. One unfortunate thing about Windows 10 is that these buttons, except for the brightness ones, don't work. This does not bring up the keyboard. This doesn't rotate the display. And I have installed all of the Panasonic utilities on this machine, including the display rotation tool, which is supposed to rotate the display. And in fact, I have it set somehow to do that, but even when I have it configured properly and through the hotkey buttons, I've set this to rotate the display, and obviously it just doesn't do anything. And if you're thinking this has an accelerometer, well, that should answer your question. No, it does not automatically rotate the screen. And you might think, well, does it rotate the screen automatically when you put it into tablet mode? And the answer to that is an absolute no. It still does not rotate the screen. So even if I were to do this and rotate the laptop to here, as you can see, it's still facing the same way as it did when it was in laptop orientation. And again, the button still does not rotate the screen, doesn't bring up the software keyboard. And even in Windows 10's own tablet mode, it still doesn't rotate the screen or do anything. The user button doesn't work. The only thing that works is the brightness buttons, to no surprise by anybody, because of course Windows recognizes that. So that's unfortunate. So I think this is Windows 10 not working properly with these buttons. This was designed for Windows 7 after all. I'm not going to try to blame it on the fact that Panasonic's drivers are crap, because Panasonic does actually make some properly functional drivers for their hardware, of course. They have to. These are industrial laptops after all. But it's just Windows 10 doesn't play ball with this machine, which is, again, to no surprise of anybody. But otherwise, I mean, this runs really well. Windows 10 is pretty decently optimized for a tablet, and this laptop shines in the performance department for that. It definitely runs quickly. Now, this touchscreen is by no means meant for any kind of serious productivity, and I don't know why Windows 10 tablet mode decides it likes to do that. That's really annoying. But yes, you can use this as a rudimentary drawing tablet if you just want to use your finger and dink around with that. I mean, it does kind of sort of work for that. It's not really designed for it, and this program's not really designed for it either, but I mean, yeah, you can certainly do some kind of fun things with this, and you can also probably sign PDFs if you had the stylus and had Adobe Acrobat on this thing. You could probably sign PDFs and do all sorts of cool things with this machine. It is definitely functional for its purpose, so I'm not saying it's useless in any way. And one thing that's really interesting is just how fast this thing opens certain applications, like for example Messenger. It launches really quickly for a Windows computer, which is almost comically quick compared to most PCs that actually run Windows 10. It takes like a good 45 seconds to launch Messenger for no reason whatsoever, because Messenger on Windows 10 is just oddly slow. I don't know why. God damn it. They might be able to hear just how noisy the little cooling fan is on this thing. This thing is never overheated, and really I don't expect it to. Oh yeah, also, this keyboard is still active in the tablet mode. That's really crappy design, Panasonic. So yeah, you can sit here and press buttons on the keyboard, and what the hell? So you're not exempt from having the really crappy design, and you gotta really dig your nail into that bezel before it'll actually work for you. So yeah, you have to really be conservative with the keyboard on the back before it'll actually like work properly for you. So you gotta watch out on that, but I'm pretty sure that doesn't really matter too much. So that's about all I have to say in regards to the Panasonic Toughbook CF-C1 little laptop tablet hybrid convertible computer thing that I have. I really like this machine. I think it's really unique, and it is sort of a predecessor to the modern day Windows 2-in-1 that you see everywhere on the market, or at least what used to be on the market back in the days of Windows 8. Well, this thing certainly had its day, and I still think it looks really neat today, even though it is really dated in terms of its display quality and features, and the fact that you can still use the freaking keyboard to start typing, even though the tablet is in use. I don't know why Panasonic designed it that way, but they did. I figured that they probably didn't intend for the users to use it in this sort of orientation, but there it is. But either way, that's probably about it for this video. I don't have much else to demonstrate or to show on this computer, since I don't have the stylus. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. So thank you all for watching. I will see you all later.